Working in dealerships, I often saw insurance companies totaling out vehicles, leaving customers with very limited options, even though those vehicles could start up, run, drive, and were safe.
Not only, it's called planned obsolescence. When you have plastic parts you put on your vehicle, it's going to fail. Your newer vehicles are going to fail.
But there is a law that states that every vehicle manufactured is going to have a kill switch in it.
They are built to be scrapped and not repaired.
Is this how my Power Stroke's supposed to sound like?
We've talked about modern cars on this channel before, and the reality of the situation is, as these cars get more computerized and advanced, they become harder and harder to fix. These cars are unfortunately not built to last. They are made to be replaced instead of repaired. And these cars have gotten so complex that a once simple repair, such as changing the spark plugs, now requires you to take apart the entire car, change your part, and then put it all back together. These cars also have so much technology in them. We're seeing subscription services that are behind paywalls. We may potentially even see a kill switch that will come to cars in 2027 that will disable your car remotely when you're driving in the middle of the road. And that is the clip we are starting off with today.
And I regret that we have to offer this amendment. What I'm going to describe will probably sound like a bad science fiction movie, but that's what's written into law. Right now in law that's going to be implemented, it says for 2026 and beyond. Now, the reality is the technology doesn't exist, but that doesn't keep legislators from imagining things that they would like to do to infringe on civil liberties. But there is a law that states that every vehicle manufactured is going to have a kill switch in it. The car itself will monitor your driving, and if the car thinks that you're not doing a good job driving, it will disable itself. So the car dashboard becomes your judge, your jury, and your executioner. Imagine this. We got a snowstorm coming. A mom takes her kids out. They're going to the grocery store. It's snowing. They're trying to get some groceries before the big storm hits. She swerves for a pothole. The neighbor's pet gets in the way, swerves for that. A first responder goes by. She pulls over. Her car says, "You got one more swerve, and then we're going to ground you." There it is. The next thing she has to avoid, an icy patch in the road. The car has adjudicated her as unsuitable for driving, disables the vehicle, and there she's stranded. My question is, how do you appeal your sentence once your car, the technology in your car, has judged you to be incapable of driving? Once it's disabled you and your children at the side of the road, how do you appeal that? Do you press a button on the dashboard? Do you start talking to an AI? What if it really was somebody who was drunk? Are you really going to send a police car after this? Disabled vehicle? Do we have the resources to do that? There's going to be so many false positives. The technology is unworkable. That's why the DOT is still in the rulemaking process, asking for feedback on how this thing could even exist. And it's just a bad idea, but it's in law. And so our amendment would defund that. And with that, I'd like to reserve the balance of my time. Mr. Chairman, drunk driving is a serious problem, but 31 states already have the technology to keep drunk drivers off of the road with ignition interlock devices that they can mandate. And this technology that's in the law is not going to fix the drunk driving problem.
And we can go straight to the comments. It's all about monitoring, not safety. Ridiculous. You drive in a panic to get your child or loved one to an ER and your car shuts off. What the heck? I won't buy a single new car after 2026 if this is implemented. Happy to work on cars that are 2025 and older. If we all did that, it would shut this down within a year. And that's the thing, we can definitely vote with our dollar and boycott this by not purchasing any new cars from 2026 and beyond, but I feel that it's just delaying the inevitable. If we fast forward to 2040 or 2050, these cars are going to be really the only ones around. Anything from the 2010s, 2000s is just going to be so old and obsolete. You're not going to be able to find parts for these vehicles. So although we do have massive power with our dollar, it is a little bit worrisome to see the way the automotive industry is heading, and we are just being forced into these modern cars that have all these bells and whistles, that have all these electronic components, kill switches and other things, subscription models, monitoring that we just don't want. Driving a woman giving birth to the hospital and the car shuts down. If you hear scanning of pupils, then we need to run. So I know that Teslas already do this, and I just confirmed all modern Teslas actively monitor driver eye movements using the cabin-facing camera, which is located above the rearview mirror. They do this to ensure the driver is paying attention, to make sure you're not sleeping or not impaired while you're driving. So cars are already monitoring our pupils and our eye movements, and it just feels very invasive. You have someone chasing you and you jump in your car, panic, trying to get away as quickly as possible, and it won't start. This is such a terrible idea. And just like the congressman said, how does the AI even determine what is safe or not? If a mom is driving on a snowy road and she has to avoid a few objects, is a computer actually fit to determine if you are safe to be driving on that road? I am just foreseeing so many issues with this, and it's also just a huge invasion of privacy as well. It's also just not practical, because how do you get your car started after it automatically shuts off? That's just going to be a huge inconvenience. And as we know, modern cars are getting more and more complex each year. Here's what a mechanical engineer has to say about it who works on these cars.
New vehicles suck, and there's no way I'd go buy one. It's to the point where used Tacomas are selling for more than brand new ones. That's how bad it's gotten. And I have an insider's perspective because I'm a mechanical engineer who has just worked in the automotive industry, and I've seen it just go downhill. Most of it has to do with the lack of practical engineering and now a huge focus on analytical as well as software, just ruining everything. So one software company controls basically everything. It's really expensive to get a seat to design things, and their software sucks. Simulation is pretty horrible, and that's how everything's designed. We don't test vehicles as long as we used to in the real world. That's now the customer's job. A lot of principles backed by analytics like thermal press fits make their way into real world designs, like timing gears being pressed onto crankshafts. It's crazy. New engines starting to knock after a few thousand miles. Multi-speed transmissions failing rather quickly. There's like no practical knowledge left anymore. Electrically, modern cars are scary. There's a computer for everything, like your power seats. There's dozens and dozens of them in a vehicle. They're all connected via CAN bus, which is super touchy to physical damage, noise, external interference. I think in terms of durability, vehicles peaked in the late 90s.
Mechanic for 40 years. Anything after 2006 is junk. Don't waste your money. Planned obsolescence at its finest. I will keep my 2007 Corolla till the wheels fall off. Only has 200k miles, and I just changed the water pump, belt, thermostat, and whole suspension and brake system. All under 2K, mind you. You know it's bad when you have to remove the body and disassemble the whole top side of an engine just to replace the starter, which we will get to later in the video. The electronic components are mostly what fails, and all the new vehicles rely on electronics for everything. That's the thing, as he said in the video, pretty much everything is electronic now. Even the seats are electronic. I've been in some modern cars that as soon as you get in, the seat automatically moves you forward toward the driver's wheel. It's like, why do we need that? That's so unnecessary. And it's just another thing that's going to break eventually. And the car is basically a supercomputer. All of them have a big giant iPad screen in them. They take software updates now. So imagine in 10 to 15 years how slow these cars are going to be. They're just going to be like an old outdated iPhone, and they're going to run so slow and laggy. He also mentioned that a lot of modern car vehicles are knocking and wearing out after just a few thousand miles. So that is a perfect transition into the next clip.
10,000 miles on her, bro. Fucking shitty. 2024 with 10,000 miles, and this is what she sounds like.
Is this how my Power Stroke's supposed to sound like?
Yep.
A 2020 Ford Super Duty truck with only 10,000 miles, and the engine sounds terrible. I can't tell you how many videos I came across of these modern vehicles just dying out at 10,000 miles and having major issues. These cars are just simply unreliable. All new trucks, every make and model. And these trucks are not cheap either. I'm just always blown away at the price of brand new cars, but especially brand new trucks. The Ford Super Duty base model starts at $42,000 and goes all the way up to $78,000 for the highest trim. And then of course, as we get into the F350s and the F450s, that just goes even higher. The most expensive one is the F450 Platinum trim. That's $96,000. $100,000 for a truck. That's a modern piece of trash that's probably going to break on you in the next 5 years. So if you buy one of these modern vehicles, you're going to inevitably have issues. One issue issue is because these cars are so computerized, you're going to need a special diagnostic tool, a special computer, in order to just determine what the actual problem is. And on top of that, if you do the repair yourself, it's going to take more time, or if you get it done at the mechanics, you're going to pay more for labor, because just to change one part, you have to essentially take apart the entire vehicle.
With having an E63, there's not too much you can complain about, except for if you want to do stuff on your own. Now, my car is getting to the point where I'm gonna have to do spark plugs soon. And you know, spark plugs, anyone with basic knowledge on how to work on a car can do their own spark plugs, except for the E63. I mean, just look at this. My ECU is up here. It feels like I have to remove half of the engine bay just to get to my coil packs. Now, in all seriousness, it probably won't be that bad, but again, there's also very minimal videos that show how to do it. And parts of me kind of just want to do it myself and get the experience of doing it rather than going to a shop and having to pay like 250 plus bucks. But if that's what it comes down to, I guess I'm gonna do that. It's just another example of the Germans over-engineering it.
I just changed the radiator on this Dodge Charger. All I got left is this one hose, upper radiator hose. I go to put it on and it's not fitting. Just to give you guys an idea what I had to do to replace the radiator, here you go.
My dad is a car mechanic, and this is something I hear him constantly complain about. They're making these engine bays so small now, and everything is shoved in there that it's so difficult to get any space to work on a simple fix. So just as we see in this video, this mechanic had to disassemble the entire front bumper just to get to the radiator to replace it. And that is something my dad has shown me firsthand. He's popped up the engine of the car and pointed to a specific part and said, "This part has gone bad and I need to change this part." But the issue is, in order to get to that part, you have to remove the 10 parts around it. It's almost as if these car manufacturers want these repairs to be so complicated and so expensive that instead of taking the time and money to repair our vehicles, we just say, forget about it and buy a new one. And multiple people are commenting that he made a rookie mistake by not checking the old part with the new part. And he responded and he said, side by side of the right and wrong one, very hard to tell. And if you look at the picture, the parts look nearly identical, but unfortunately the part where the hose attached to seems like it was a different size on the old and the new part. And we have another video from a mechanic showing how convoluted a simple fix is on a modern car.
They are built to be scrapped and not repaired. We're not that far removed from having trucks like this that were so simple to repair. That headlight comes in, goes out. All these switches in this panel can all be replaced. This is all separated. On this door panel, everything is one piece. You break those switches, new door panel. You break that window switch, new door panel. You scuff this up, new door panel. You mess this up, new door panel. You did what I did. You break this, new door panel. So what I did is I first replaced my door panel with a used one. Then I thought I would salvage my good parts off my old door panel to see if I could save them. You can't. This speaker girl right here, I had to cut out. Look at how they fasten it in. That's all riveted into place. You have to cut out the rivets to replace the speaker grill. Problem is though, you can't get to it without cutting up stuff. The door handle up here, I broke this little piece right here, right? You can't get this out without undoing all those rivets. So I thought I'd buy a used one, then take all my good parts, put it on the used one, and turns out you can't do that. So I went ahead, should have just ordered a new door panel from the beginning. But I was trying to listen to everyone on the internet. Said, oh, save money, buy a used one. The used one was actually more money than the new one was, which was crazy.
And they claim to be green, sustainable companies that help but don't hurt the environment. You gotta love the irony when they say, oh, these new vehicles are so fuel efficient, they don't pollute as much. But how is making car repairs so difficult that people just give up and buy a new car environmentally friendly? How is that environmentally friendly at all? It's not, and I feel that the reason they're doing this is not for the environment and not for us and not for safety and any of these other claims. It's simply so that they can increase their bottom line and sell more vehicles. Make it cheap and up to EPA specifications means filling up junkyards and landfills. Saving the planet though? Built as cheap as possible because you, the customer, will have to eat the cost on the back end. Once you bought it from them, it's a you problem. They don't care how expensive or hard or annoying it is to fix because they already got paid. All the manufacturers are making complete garbage and charging 3 times what they're worth.
Well, hey there, local mechanic here, and I'm actually owner-operator, and I'll tell you exactly why and when mechanic repairs became so expensive and why labor rates are so expensive and why they charge you to look at your car. For one, cars are extremely more complicated than they were 30, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. They get more complicated every freaking year. Think about all the lane adaptive assist controls, all the electronics that they put them in them. They're using CAN bus systems, which are run off Ethernet now. You got to stay educated to fix these cars. Not only that, let me show you why the labor costs are so expensive on a particular Jeep I'm working on. Let me show you. So this one had a radiator bad. However, the book gives 3 hours for it. I'm like 2 hours into it. And the way that the manufacturer designed the AC line, if you can see here, they put a groove this way and this way. So the only way that radiator's coming out is if I have to pull the refrigerant. Now the refrigerant on this vehicle is the new 1234YF, which means it's buku expensive. So add a service to it, add this to it, add that to it. Not only, it's what's called planned obsolescence. When you have plastic parts you put on your vehicle, it's going to fail. Your newer vehicles are going to fail. It's cheaper to labor-wise fix older vehicles which are much better designed, because these newer vehicles are designed in a manner to where they want you to spend as much money as possible regardless of the situation. So this is not gonna, get any better unless we do something about it.
Mechanic here. It's gotten way harder to work on vehicles the past 10 years. He's not lying. Engineers make cars to fail and more expensive to fix. That man also mentioned something that my dad also has a gripe with and has said multiple times, and that is that these new cars make all of these parts out of plastic. They do this because, of course, it's cheaper to manufacture. However, they're bad because they warp and become brittle over time, and they degrade under extreme engine heat, and they often require replacing expensive full assemblies instead of small, cheap components. A lot of the interiors of these modern vehicles are plastic as well. There's a video where this guy is pushing on the plastic components in the interior of his car, and it's just squeaking nonstop. So these cars just tend to develop these annoying squeaks and rattles that you have to hear while you're driving.
Starting with the buttons, not bad. Now the screen. How about the vents?
Another issue that arises from modern cars being so expensive and convoluted to repair is that insurance companies, if you get in a small accident, will sometimes mark your car completely totaled.
While working in dealerships, I often saw insurance companies totaling out vehicles, leaving customers with very limited options, even though those vehicles could start up, run, drive, and were safe. I had one customer that came to me out of our body shop. It came to me because it had a mechanical concern on top of some body concerns because this vehicle was in an accident. The only thing this vehicle needed was the automatic sunroof. Now, it was a Vista sunroof, so the entire roof was glass. It was a big assembly. This is an expensive part. It's an expensive repair. But in my opinion, it is not expensive enough to total the vehicle out. But that's my opinion. That's not what the insurance company said. You see, this vehicle was like under a tree or something, and a tree fell down and damaged the sunroof. That's all that was wrong with the vehicle. It ran, it drove, all the systems were saved, the check engine light wasn't even on. Everything on this car was fine. It had new tires and brakes and all this stuff. Because of the age and the mileage of this vehicle, even though it was well maintained, the insurance company actually totaled it because the cost of the repair for the sunroof was actually exceeding what the vehicle was worth. The customer was beside himself. He's like telling me, he's like, how do I get this fixed? Like, I want to fix this car because this is paid for. I don't need to finance anything here. He said, I just want to get this fixed. This vehicle's not financed. It's paid for. I don't want to finance another vehicle. I can't afford another vehicle, and I really can't afford this repair, but what I need is the insurance company to pay for this because my deductible is something I can afford. And I was leveling with the customer. I'm like, I totally got it. Like, if I were you, I'd want this fixed too because it's just a sunroof. If you can fix the sunroof, the rest of the vehicle is fine. But because it's so expensive to fix certain components on vehicles like sunroofs, like it's so expensive because we put so much technology into it, it's actually causing some customers to run into situations where their insurance company will total a vehicle out because one repair, like a sunroof assembly replacement, is too expensive to actually fix on the vehicle. And the cost to replace certain components and repair certain systems in modern vehicles exceeds the worth of some of these vehicles because they have high mileage on them and things like that. But you and I know if you take good care of a vehicle, it's supposed to go to 100,000, 150 plus thousand miles. A lot of vehicles, they kind of start clapping out at like 60,000, which is unfortunate. And that's not a statistic that you can like quote me on or anything. I just know that in my experience working in dealerships, a lot of times I saw modern vehicles start to have real issues around that 50 to 60,000 mile mark. And that's why a lot of people would trade in at that point. I'm not saying that's what you should do at all, but that's something I saw and experienced rather often. So this is where I want to leave it to you. I want to know what your thoughts are. If you ran into this before, what do you think about manufacturers making vehicles so expensive to repair nowadays because of certain components and costs and systems and things like that, new technology, that sometimes the vehicle will actually get totaled out just because of one system like a sunroof is not working?
Can you imagine a tree falling on your car, and in order to replace just one thing, the sunroof, insurance company goes, "Oh, that's too expensive to fix. Sorry, you're just gonna have to replace the car. Your car's totaled." That would be maddening to have a car that you can't fix that easily. Then you have to go and buy a whole new car just because your insurance company refuses to fix it. Just had a customer who ran over something and severely damaged the case on their electric vehicle battery. $45,000 was the price to replace on a car that sold new for $40,000. I've seen cars get totaled for hail damage. It's ridiculous. I'm curious what you all think about modern cars and how difficult they are to repair. I currently have a 2007 vehicle and I plan to drive that thing until the wheels fall off. And once it dies on me, I'll probably get another early 2000s car. But what worries me is just the direction that the automotive industry is heading in. Soon, we're not going to have early 2000s cars to buy anymore. We are going to be forced into these modern vehicles because the technology and the laws will just be supporting all of these changes that they are making to these vehicles. So that is my concern, but I still think the best choice today is to buy a used car from a private party, get it checked out by a mechanic. Make sure you get a popular car like a Honda or a Toyota, something that you know you'll be able to get spare parts for and you know you'll be able to fix for years and years to come. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and comment down below a dog emoji so I know you watched the whole thing. And if you don't want to wait for my next upload, you can go ahead and check out this video right here on the screen. But thank you guys again, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.